Welcome to the In Love with PMDD podcast. I am your host, Dr. Rose, your PMDD relationship psychotraumatologist, and I help you stop the monthly PMDD breakups. PMDD is premenstrual dysphoric disorder. It is in approximately 1 in 5 women, and it makes you want to break up with your partner approximately 1 to 2 weeks before your period every single month. So as someone who has suffered with PMDD for over 18 years, I dedicated my doctorate practice to helping partners navigate those monthly PMDD breakups with everything from attachment styles, triggers, sensitivity to noise, sensitivity to touch, all of the things that you really struggle with when you're in PMDD. And I also dedicated my dissertation to a phenomenological study of the relationship experiences of partners of individuals who suffer with premenstrual dysphoric disorder. So I'm not just here to help the sufferer, the one who is suffering with PMDD. I am here for the partners as well. So if you need those private sessions, make sure you go to inlovewithpmdd.com and get those tools. So let's get into this week's PMDD trauma transformational tools that is going to help you stop the monthly breakups and stop the suffering and stress in your PMDD relationship. Let's get into it. So today I want to talk to you about something that is very common in PMDD relationships. And I've actually seen the pattern within myself, and that is when you're at a point where you're asking your partner for something that they genuinely do not have. And what I mean by that is you're in this part of your PMDD relationship and you're complaining about that your partner is not supportive, right? So I deal with this a lot with my private clients where they're saying that their partner is not supportive. And I go in depth and I always ask, and if you're my private client, you know this, I say, what does that look like? What do you mean? What is missing? What is your partner not doing, right? So the benefit of having the private sessions with me is that we go in depth to your complaints, because if you're complaining about something in a vague way, where you're just saying things that you're dissatisfied with, where you're just nagging your partner, where you're just complaining to them, where you're just saying that they're not being supportive, they're not really understanding what to do about that. They're going to get defensive and they're going to start to pretty much lash out emotionally. They're going to do the opposite of giving you what it is that you need. And so I really just started to ask a lot of my private clients, like, hey, what do you mean by your partner is not supportive? Like, because that's the number one complaint, or we're not compatible. Or maybe we shouldn't be together, or maybe I should just be single. These are all the questions that you're having in your brain when you recognize that your partner is not giving you something that you need. And I remember going through this in my journey where I started to grow within my PMDD journey and understand what it is that I can handle in PMDD, what is it that I cannot handle in my luteal phase as far as characteristics with partners. And then I tried to communicate that to my partner. And how many times have you been there where you've been in PMDD, you've been frustrated, and you've kind of said, I just need you to be more sensitive. I need you to be more soft. I need you to be more just loving and supportive. I know that was my main complaint, was that I wasn't feeling like I was getting the emotional support, right? I didn't feel like emotionally I was being fulfilled. And when I went into PMDD, it started to really come out because I was needing more emotional support in PMDD. I was needing more gentleness. I was needing more kindness. I was needing more love. I was needing more of those things where it was the opposite of my suffering, right? So when you are really deeply suffering in PMDD, one of the things that you really need from your partner is you need them to be the opposite of the chaos that you're having in your mind. You're needing peace. You're honestly needing peace from your partner. You're needing peace in your relationship because you're dealing with so much. And you're really feeling like, I can't deal with the stress of PMDD and the stress in my relationship. Like, I need you to kind of ease up. I've had so many private clients that have literally said, even if I'm going off, or even if I'm acting a certain way, or even if I'm doing this, I need you to just be calm. I don't need you to kind of poke the bear. Now, what I will say to that is, I do not condone you giving verbal abuse, physical abuse to your partner and making your partner think that they're expected to just take that kind of behavior because you're in PMDD. That is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you're needing a more gentle version of your partner when you are in PMDD. But that doesn't mean that if you're being harsh, if you're being negative, if you're being all of these things that they're just supposed to sit there and take it. And I think sometimes that is confused with support, meaning you are confusing your partner with being supportive by them just taking your verbal and physical abuse just because you're in PMDD. And that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I understand from being in your position every single month that I know when I go into PMDD, I need a softer, gentler, kinder, nicer version of a partner. That's absolutely what I need because there's so much chaos and confusion going on with the symptoms. There's so much chaos and confusion going on in my mind that I can't. It's almost like you feel like you could argue, you could fight, you could do that, but you're like, I don't even have it in me. Like, I don't have it in me to fight with you. I don't have it in me to defend myself. I don't have it in me to do all these things that basically I would be required to do in the relationship. And so I want to talk to you today about the damaging part of this, which is you're asking your PMDD partner for something that they genuinely do not have. And when I recognized that I had done this before, I noticed there was a pattern of me doing it because I'd done it with my mom. I did it with my ex-husband. And I had done it a couple of times with individuals that I had dated. And so, a lot of times when I'm looking back on things, I always put myself in the position of it's all my fault. Like, and not in a way of that I'm blaming and shaming myself, but pretty much if something is not your fault, if something is somebody else's fault, then you're going to put the responsibility on them to fix it. But if you just say to yourself, you know what, regardless of whatever the other person did, I put myself in this situation because I chose this person. That was the position that I got in. And granted, I didn't choose my mom, but what I was doing was because I was in foster care, right? And then I was adopted at the age, for those of you who don't know my story, I was in foster care at the age of 3. I was adopted at the age of 5, and I never felt like I got that maternal nurturing love from my mom and or my dad or my adopted mom or my adopted dad. Like it was like I was 0 for 4. And so if you really think about that, if you really package me up and you think, okay, so you were neglected emotionally and physically as a baby, as a child, when you were, forming all of your attachment, and then you go into an adopted home. After I left foster care, I went into an adopted home where I was further emotionally and mentally and physically abused and neglected. So what that meant was, as I got older, because I kind of adopted this mindset where I kind of held out hope as far as my mom was concerned. I held out hope that she could be the type of mother that I needed. I knew that I needed, emotional support. I knew that I needed her to be there for me. And I kind of left the door open. I wasn't bitter. My biggest thing is I didn't want to be bitter. I didn't want to be resentful for her neglect because in my mind, if I just throw everybody away who's neglected me, then I'm just going to have no one. So I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to leave the door open. Like Bruno Mars says, I'm going to leave the door open. That's what I have a pattern of doing. Right. And I had to recognize that within myself. I noticed that when my mom emotionally and physically neglected me, even as an adult, I kept kind of giving her those opportunities to be there for me. I would immediately forgive her for certain things. I let go of all my boundaries. I let her walk all over me. I was continuously being this loving daughter and making sure I remember birthdays and anniversaries and Christmas presents and all these things because I genuinely wanted to kind of in my mindset, create the example of what it is that I wanted, right? So it's kind of like instead of just continuously asking and asking and asking, be a mom, be a mom, be a mom, I was in a position like I'm going to be loving towards you. And I've always had this mentality, and I think I've had it since I was a child, where I really thought if I'm loving and nice and kind to you, then you're going to be loving and kind and nice to me. That is not the case. And I remember some of my friends growing up, they're like, you're so green, like you're so gullible, like they're people are bad. And I just intrinsically I have an outlook on people where I look for the good in people. And I had to realize that there's so many boundaries that need to be in place with that because people will take advantage of that, right? They will show up with nothing and take everything from you. And when I recognized that, it was a very kind of sad reality. And it really translated to me and my intimate relationships, because when I recognize that even if you're super loving, even if you're super giving, even if you're super supportive, your partner could show up and just take advantage of that and not even feel bad about it, right? That lack of remorse kind of thing. So going back to my mom, I kept accepting the fact that she was literally walking all over me, and pretty much there was this level of jealousy that, she has a lot of narcissistic traits, and so that was another pattern that I saw, and I was like, man, you kind of don't want to see that in a person. Like, you kind of want to blind yourself to certain characteristics, and you may do this with your partner where you see that they have certain qualities, but you're kind of blinding yourself to it because you feel like if you come to the realization that this is who they are, this is probably not the right person for you. And so that's kind of how I was with my mom. And I was just, I was really asking her to be a nurturing mother. I was asking her to be loving and kind in ways that I was showing examples that I was being. But then there would be instances where, I'm trying to give you some examples. There would be instances where she would demand certain things on her birthday, like, I'm your mother, I'm your mother. And she would kind of have this level of, again, narcissistic tendencies because she had this level of entitlement, but she didn't act like my mom. It was like people who have those narcissistic tendencies feel like they're entitled to certain treatment, even if they don't operate within the realms of those responsibilities. Like, I would never say I'm a mom to my daughter if I wasn't feeding her, if I wasn't clothing her, if I wasn't taking care of her. But with the individuals who have that narcissistic tendencies, they feel like they can have that level of entitlement of the title of what it is that they're stating that they are without actually doing the work. And so that's pretty much how my mom was. And I was just, there would be certain times where she just wasn't supportive. I was doing certain things and she wouldn't show up for me. She wasn't showing up for me physically for things. She wasn't showing up emotionally for me. And I was kind of taking, her scraps. I was literally taking her scraps until one day she told me, I think she was just kind of tired of me kind of asking her for something that she genuinely didn't have. And she was just like, I don't owe you anything. And I remember her saying that. And I was like, I'm like thinking to myself, like, what does she mean? She doesn't owe me anything, like what does she mean? And I was so upset and I was so hurt that she wasn't being that mom for me. Like, I was upset that she wasn't being that loving, caring, motherly person that I was being to my daughter. So I know what it's like to not be like have someone there for you emotionally. So when I recognized that she just didn't have it, I had to cut her off. And when I say cut her off, I started little by little by placing boundaries because it hurt me so much to be in interaction with someone that wasn't giving me the things that I needed. And so I literally distanced myself from her little by little. And then, Ray, I'm going to answer the questions right after the podcast. I got you. I got you. Stick around. So when I just translated from that, I noticed that I had a pattern of doing that in my relationships where I was literally asking my partner for things that he didn't have. I was asking him to be a certain way that was genuinely the opposite of his character. And I literally thought, oh, if I just communicate to you what it is that I need, if I communicate to you the way I need you to show up for me in PMDD, like, if you love me, you'll just do it. And I know some of you may feel the same way. If you love me and you care about me and I need this in PMDD, you're going to be able to do this for me. But what I was doing was literally asking my partner to exhibit qualities that they naturally don't have. So when you're asking your PMDD partner to exhibit qualities that they naturally don't possess, it creates a lot of tension within your relationships. It creates a lot of misunderstandings. And so when you're in PMDD, you're going to be feeling really rejected because they're not being a certain way with you. But if you really think about it, like, if you're wanting your partners to be soft and nice and loving and kind and all of those things, and that's not within their character, that's not within their nature, they're naturally not like that, what you're doing is you're creating unrealistic expectations on your partner to give you something that they don't have. You didn't choose a partner who is kind and nurturing and loving. Like, if you go to the beginning, did they ever show you that they were capable of being that way towards you? So you're making them feel bad about not being a certain way when they never showed you that they were capable of being that way. They never said that They were going to be nice and kind and loving to you. Maybe they're a little bit rough around the edges. Maybe they're fun. Maybe they have all of these other qualities that you love, and you were focused on that, but then you go into PMDD and you want something more. So when you create those unrealistic expectations and you kind of force your partner, say if your partner is very stoic and they're very quiet and they're very like emotionally like disconnected, and you're normally fine with that, but when you go into PMDD, you want them to be open and soft and loving and very communicative. They don't have that personality. So constantly asking your partner to be something that they're not, it sets an unrealistic standard for them and for the relationship. So this can lead to you being disappointed. You're disappointed that they're not giving you these certain qualities and being a certain way. And they're disappointed in you because you keep asking them to do something that they genuinely don't have the desire to do. They don't even know how to do it. Like a lot of times when I was asking for that level of soft affection from my ex, like he never showed me. Like when I'm talking about soft affection, I'm talking about I have this like fairy tale mentality when it comes to relationships. And I used to think it was like everyone tells me that it was like this horrible thing because I'm into like Hallmark movies. My favorite movie is like The Pretty Woman. And I'm always in that kind of idealistic mentality because I'm willing to put in the work to come forward in my energy of being soft and loving and wanting like that masculine energy to be like a provider, a protector, and just loving and adore me and all of these things. So I'm not saying give me all of these qualities and I'm just going to give you nothing. I'm willing to meet you where I'm wanting you to be. Like I'm willing to give you what it is that you need in order for you to show up to the way that I need. And so I thought it was more of like a quid pro quo, like, hey, this is how I need you to be. You tell me how you need me to be, and we'll just meet in the middle. So what happened is I study my people that I'm dating and people that I'm in a relationship with to know what it is that they need, not just what they like and what they don't like. Like I go beyond the surface and figure out within a relationship, what is it that this person really needs in order to feel loved? Like what is their love language? Like what do they like to do? What do they not like to do? And I really cater my abilities and my place in the relationship to what it is that they need to be there for them to meet their emotional, physical, mental needs, right? As far as the relationship is concerned. And when I was asking my partner to show up a certain way, they couldn't do it in my luteal phase. And so it made them feel inadequate. It made them insecure. It made them feel not fulfilled because when you're not satisfied with the way that your partner is, they can feel that. They know that. They don't like the feeling like they're not showing up the way, if they really love you and care about you, because they can love and care about you, but still not be able to show up the way that you need them to show up. So just because they're not giving you what it is that you need doesn't mean that they're not a good person. Doesn't mean that they don't really love you. Doesn't mean that they don't really care about you. They just don't have what it is that you need. It's kind of like going, I like to travel internationally. It's like me trying to use my American currency in another country. And they're like, we understand that this is money in your country, but we can't do anything with it. This is worthless to us. Like we don't use this. And so what your partner could be doing is if you need more words of affirmation, right? And you need more physical touch, because that's where I was. I was needing more physical affection. I was needing more words. And my partner was really into giving gifts and really into so he would buy me all of these things and kind of do the acts of service. Like when he came here, he would do the laundry, fold the clothes, all of these things. And for me, it was kind of like, it's great that he's doing those things. That's not what I needed when I was in PMDD. I needed him to lean in. I needed him to just show more love, to make me feel loved and adored and cherished and not like, a piece of crap because I'm suffering in PMDD. That's what I needed. And I would consistently, say that. And then he was just like, you're so unappreciative, right? So this is where the next way that this can cause your relationship to suffer, it leads to resentment. My partner literally resented me because he felt like I wasn't being appreciative to the things that he was doing, because I was so hyper focused on the things that I needed in my luteal phase and PMDD. And I kept bringing it up. And it was almost like, did you forget that I just put gas in your car? Did you forget that I just put up these pictures in the house? Did you forget that I just did the laundry? Did you forget that I just went grocery shopping? Like all of those things were being overshadowed because what I really needed was the opposite of what he had to provide me. And so my PMDD partner he felt resentful because he felt unappreciated. And so they're really feeling unappreciated because they perceive that you're asking them to change rather than really accepting them for who they are. They're going to begin to think that you don't even like them. They're going to be like, you don't even like who I am, because they're consistent. They're like almost killing themselves trying to show up for you with everything that they have to give. And you're still mentioning things that they're not doing because they don't have it. So over time, this resentment can lead to emotional intimacy. Like there's no emotional intimacy. They don't feel safe with you. They feel like you're the enemy because you're making them feel horrible. And this is the next way that it can damage your PMDD relationship is it undermines your self-esteem. Repeatedly asking your PMDD partner to meet standards that they cannot fulfill, it damages their self-esteem. This caused my partner to be jealous. This caused him to be insecure. This caused him to be stressed out. This caused him to feel hopeless in the relationship. Like, what more can I give you to show you that I love you? And they were pouring out whatever they had to give, and it just wasn't. It's almost like it's just not enough for you. And it's like, it's not enough because I didn't choose a partner that naturally did it. So what I want you to do is begin to ask yourself, did you choose a partner that naturally gives you the things that you need in your luteal phase? Ask yourself that question right now. Did you give your partner the opportunity to show you who they were in the beginning, which is what I'm really doing as I'm dating. I'm really giving the partners that I'm spending time with, that I'm connecting with, the opportunity to show me who they really are, what they're naturally able to provide to me in the relationship, and then asking myself, is this enough? Is this good enough? There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with having standards in your relationship. There's nothing wrong with having specific things that you want and need. But you need to always be asking yourself, is my partner doing this because they're naturally able to do it? Or is it causing them to suffer when they're giving me what it is that I need in my luteal phase? That is such an important question, because sometimes your partner can show up and be giving you the things that you want and need, but it is also causing them to suffer. That's what my partner ended up doing. My ex-partner, he ended up being nice and being loving and all those things, and it caused him to suffer because he felt like he wasn't being himself. That wasn't the way that he showed love. That wasn't the way that he showed affection. So he started to have to act out of character in order to give me what it is that I need. And they start to really, really resent that, right? So the next way is that it causes more stress within you having PMDD. It causes this emotional instability, and it's placing additional pressure on your partner. Because like I said, they're having to display certain qualities during this time. So both of you are stressed out. You're stressed out because you know, if your partner is showing up in a way that you know that it's not natural for them, you can feel it. So now you're like stressed out because you're asking them to just show up in a way that, you need them to, but it's not natural for them. So they're stressed out because they're acting out of character. You're stressed out because they're acting out of character and it's not landing for you. It's like, yeah, they're doing the things, but it feels fake. It doesn't feel authentic. You're not getting the genuine feeling of feeling loved and protected and all of those things. So then they're feeling like, okay, so I'm acting out of character. I'm giving you what it is that you need and you're still not happy. So this triggers feelings of rejection. So your partner is going to genuinely feel rejected if they believe that who they truly are isn't good enough for you. They almost will go the opposite of stop doing everything and be like, okay, well, I guess if it's not good enough for you, I'm just not going to do anything, right? So that then they're going to start to distance themselves from you. They're not going to want to be around you because being around you is going to make them feel that they're not good enough. Being around you is going to be like a constant reminder of what they're not capable of doing. So maybe you begin to be nice and loving towards other people, and when other people are showing you those qualities, you're responding to that, and they're able to see you be loving and open to other people, but not them. So like maybe your kids, right? This can happen in a situation where, and I've seen this so many times with private clients, and even with me, like if my daughter was showing me certain qualities that I needed when I was in PMDD, and I started to reciprocate that and be open and loving, but then my partner didn't, and he could see that, it was like a slap in the face. It's like, wow, so you can, be open and loving with them, just not with me. So it kind of hinders, the next thing is it hinders that open communication. If your partner feels like that they can never meet your expectation, they can never meet up to your standards, they're going to shut down emotionally. So it's going to make it really hard for you to have open and honest communication, which is essential for when you're trying to resolve issues in the relationship. You may try to talk to them about something and they don't want to talk to you about it because they're feeling like they're inadequate. They're feeling like they're not good enough. They're feeling like every conversation is just going to be you telling them about what they don't do. They're probably going to like put their hands up in the air and be like, oh, I guess let me guess. Like my partner used to call it demonizing me. He was like, you're demonizing me. What that meant is you're basically calling me out. You're making it like I'm a demon. Like you're calling me out on things that he felt like he really didn't have any control over, because you kind of minimize the efforts and kind of say, why can't you just be more supportive? Why can't you just be more loving? Why can't you just show me more affection? When you ask those questions, I want you to know it's like a slap in the face. You're like emotionally slapping your partner because you're asking them, why can't you just do this? And it's so hard for them. It is so hard for them to do it because it's not in their character. They're not normally like that. So when you try to make it seem like it's no big deal, you're basically saying you're a piece of crap. Like it doesn't even take that much effort to be loving. If you really loved me, like you'll start saying comments like this. If you really loved me, you would do this. If you're saying questions like that to your partner, you're putting those expectations on them to show you something that they don't have. So what this means is the next way that it's damaging your PMDD relationship is it's giving you emotional withdrawal. So when your partner feels like that they're constantly not good enough, they're going to emotionally withdraw from you to protect themselves because you're hurting their feelings. Every time that they feel like a failure, it hurts them. And so then when you're going through things in PMDD, now you're just walking around the house like roommates. Or if you don't live together, you're just like barely communicating when you're in PMDD because they're not feeling good enough. You're feeling like you're not getting your needs met. And you're opening the door for those questions and those doubts and those fears that go in your mind and be like, maybe we shouldn't be together. Maybe we're not compatible. When you start to say maybe we're not compatible, that is a sign that you're probably asking your partner for something that they don't have. Because what you're basically saying is, I'm asking my partner for something and we're not compatible because they're not giving it to me. And you're probably recognizing that maybe they don't have it. And so what this does is it's making your partner feel like you don't accept them for who they are. When your partner feels like you don't accept them for who they are, you know what they're going to start to do? They're going to start to lash out and they're going to start to pick at you. They're going to start to say, well, you're not so great. Like, what about you? You're not affectionate. You're not loving. You're not this. You're not that. In order to feel better about themselves, they're going to start getting defensive and pointing out things that you don't do in PMDD or things that you do to trigger them. So now you're going to be feeling like both of you are the enemy. You're really going to be fighting with each other because as you call them out on things that they don't do naturally to support you, they're going to call you out on things that you don't do. And now you're going to be in this back and forth. You're going to be defending yourself. They're going to be defending themselves. It's going to start with criticism. You're going to start criticizing your PMDD partner for things that they don't do for you. And then your partner's going to get defensive, or they're going to start criticizing you for things that you don't do. And they're one on the other. Criticism and defensiveness goes hand in hand. You criticize your partner, they're going to get defensive. They criticize you, you're going to get defensive. Like it's the same thing. And so what it does is it increases the conflict and the PMDD fights and the PMDD rage and makes you go off on PMDD rage because they're going to start poking the bear. They're going to start going in on you when you're in PMDD, telling you, what about you? They're going to constantly feel like they want to criticize you before you criticize them. So continuously having those unmet expectations is going to keep you in this pattern and this cycle of fights when you go into PMDD. Because when you go into your luteal phase, you're going to consistently be like, I need this, I need this, I need this. And so it creates a cycle of dissatisfaction in your relationship. Every single month when you get in your luteal phase, you're gonna have this realm of dissatisfaction. When you continuously ask your partner to change things about them, you're going to be trapped in this cycle of dissatisfaction. The both of you are. Your partner may never make you happy, and then you're going to feel consistently frustrated by your unmet needs. So the way that you can do this, the tools that you can use for this is to focus on your partner's strengths and what it is that they actually can give you, and ask yourself, is this enough? Is this enough for me when I'm in my luteal phase? Not is this enough overall. Like, are they a good person? We're not questioning whether they're a good person. They can be an amazing person. I said that. I said that about my ex PMDD partner before we broke up, and even afterwards. I'm not. He will be an amazing partner for somebody else who needs what it is that he has to give. And when I recognized that I was genuinely asking him for something that he, or for things that he didn't have, I had to like check myself on that and be like, Rose, you're wrong. I had to call myself out and say, you're wrong because you're literally asking him to give you something that he doesn't have. And you're not able to get to the point where you're appreciating what it is that he's giving you because you're so focused on what you're not getting. And you may be in that same place where you're so focused on what your partner is not giving you when you're in your luteal phase and PMDD that you are brushing away all of the things that they do give you. And it's not fair to them, and it's not fair to you. It's not fair to you because you're not getting your needs met, and it's not fair to them because they're consistently feeling inadequate. They're feeling like they're not good enough. They're consistently feeling like they're not good enough. And I so this is what I want to help you do, okay? I want to help you identify the type of individual that you need when you're in PMDD. The type of individual that you need to be with when you're in PMDD, the type of PMDD partner that you need. And I know it's kind of that thing of like, how do I figure it out? Because I had to take myself through this. I had to take myself through this journey of really figuring out. I never want to be in the place of asking a partner to give me something that they don't have. I never want to be in that place again. What happens is I can remember with my ex, I used to always say that I had an avoidant attachment style. And I don't really have an avoidant attachment style. What happened was I was avoidant to the qualities that my ex partner was showing me that I did not need when I was in my luteal phase. So I wasn't avoidant to the relationship. I was avoidant to my specific partner for the qualities that he was showing me. You know, he was very aggressive, very talked very loud, very, passionate about, things, and very argumentative, and very just had these things that are some people they would not care about. Like, it would be no big deal. But I noticed for me, for the emotional sensitivity that I get when I'm in PMDD, when I'm in my luteal phase, I had to call myself out. I couldn't handle it. I couldn't handle it. Could someone else handle it? Maybe, probably. Like, I had to ask myself. That's why I said it was me. I took full responsibility. And I had to assess my emotional needs when I'm in my luteal phase. I had to determine the type of emotional support that I'm going to need in my luteal phase and PMDD. So it's almost asking yourself, do you need someone who offers you empathy, who listens to you without judging you whenever you're talking about your suffering, who provides that calm reassurance? So that's what it is that I needed, right? So I'm asking you this question because I had to ask myself that question. And, you know, here's an example. If when you go into PMDD, you really feel overwhelmed by your emotions, right? Because this is me, I'm giving you an example about how you can assess your emotional needs. I felt really overwhelmed by the level of emotions that I was getting when I was in PMDD. So what that means is the translation of that is I need a partner who can remain calm and offer emotional instability when I'm feeling anxious and I'm feeling irritable. When I have anxiousness and I have irritability with my ex partner, it made him anxious and made him irritable and made him defensive and made him feel like he did something wrong. I needed the opposite of that. I need someone that is just even kill. Like, when I say even kill, meaning they're not emotionally reactive to my emotions. And there's a certain type of person, this is a gift. People who have this, it's a gift. I have it in my follicular phase. And a lot of you may have these qualities when you're in your follicular phase. Like, basically, even when my partner, used to get anxious, used to get stressed, used to get all this, if I'm in my follicular phase, if I'm in my good days, I can handle that. I had no issue. Like, I can be that calm person, even though there's chaos all the time. But when I'm already feeling overwhelmed with my own emotions, and I'm in PMDD, I can't have someone that is like in PMDD with me, like experiencing the same symptoms that I am. If I'm anxious, you can't be anxious. If I'm all over the place, you can't be all over the place. If I'm overthinking, you can't be all overthinking. I need the balance. I genuinely need the balance. And I had to recognize that about myself. I can't deal with someone that if I get hyper vigilant, they're hyper vigilant. If I'm on edge, they're on edge. What that led to was a lot of PMDD fights and a lot of PMDD rage outbursts because we were both so stressed and overwhelmed at the same time. We were both, in that place of like acting out of character. And for me, I was like, this is a recipe for disaster. It was hard for me to calm myself down without removing myself from the situation, hence the avoidant attachment style. I started to get really avoidant because I felt like when I was in this situation, that it was a lot of chaos and confusion. We were all over the place. So we were not good for each other in my luteal phase. And I know moving forward, if I'm dating someone, I know that I need to be dating someone that if I'm feeling emotionally hyper vigilant and on edge, that they can remain calm. I just need that. And I need the next thing that I want you to ask yourself is if you have PMDD, you need to look for someone who has patience and understanding, right? So a PMDD partner should have patience to handle the emotional ups and downs. Again, I'm not talking about enduring verbal and physical abuse from you when you're suffering in PMDD. I'm talking about having patience that if you just come in there and you're overthinking and you're like, what about this and what about this? And you're lost in the realm of intrusive thoughts, they're not reacting negatively or taking things personally. They're not taking what you're saying as a personal attack. They're just listening to you and being like, okay, babe, I can understand that you're in PMDD, or I understand that you're in your luteal phase, meaning if you struggle with mood swings and up and down when you're in PMDD, a partner who can remain calm and not escalate the fight will give you that place of safety. You'll feel safe because you know that even if you're having these emotional, ups and downs, that they're not going to like throw it in your face and be like, oh my gosh, look at you, you're going off again. Or they're not going to not be able to handle it. Or they're not going to, react, physically abusive to you or like emotionally abusive to where they're yelling at you because you're raising your voice. Right. So I want you to evaluate their communication skills, right? PMDD partners need to have open and compassionate communication in order to really manage PMDD. So a partner should be able to talk to you about the triggers that you go through without resorting to blame or defensiveness. And again, if you're noticing that your partner doesn't have these things, I have had private clients where the partner doesn't naturally have these things, but they're willing to do the work in order to, gain these characteristics or gain these qualities or learn how to be this way. So if you're prone to feeling misunderstood because you feel like your partner just doesn't get you in PMDD, a partner who's actively listening to you and validates your feelings is going to make you feel supported. Like if you're constantly like, I just need this, I just need you to listen to me, and they're willing to listen, and they're like, all right, babe, let's just talk about this. They're willing to have the conversation with you. They're not like, oh my gosh, what is it now? They're not completely annoyed because you want to communicate your feelings. They're not feeling like because they have stress going on in their life that you're just too much for them. So you need to consider a partner who is willing to learn. If you're dating someone, or if you're in a relationship and just found out that you have PMDD, and they need to be open to learning about PMDD, educating themselves about PMDD. And I do not mean showing them an article on PMDD. I cannot stress this enough. Sending your partner an article on PMDD or your person you're dating on PMDD does not explain to them about PMDD. It lets them know that there's something going on, but it doesn't go in depth. This is why I have private clients who are just the partners. We need to specifically understand how PMDD is going to affect them as an individual. Giving them the broad spectrum of PMDD, you have specific symptoms that you suffer with in PMDD that other people might not suffer with. So if your partner is just looking at this article and looking at this long list of symptoms, you may not have all of those symptoms. Your partner doesn't need to know about all of the symptoms that you don't have. They need to know specifically, what are the symptoms that you have and how do they impact the relationship? What are the ways that these symptoms are going to impact them? This is what I work with my private clients. You need to have these strategy sessions. This is what I call them when I have clients where I'm working with a partner, I'm working with both of you. It's PMDD partner strategy sessions. We are strategizing how PMDD PMDD is going to genuinely impact your relationship. So if that's something that you know that you need help with, and you're like, we're just all over the place and we're in PMDD, go to inlovewithpmdd.com, get those strategy sessions, get those counseling sessions to really map out what PMDD is and how it's impacting your specific relationship. So these are just some of the ways that I work with my private clients with really identifying the type of individual partner that you need in PMDD. It's very strategic when you're dealing with PMDD and your relationship and who it is that you need and what qualities that you need. It really is a situation where if you are in this place where you're recognizing that, Dr. Rose, my partner doesn't have what it is that I need, I do not want you to feel like you have to throw the whole partner away. This just means that you need help to understand, can my partner adopt the qualities that I need when I'm in PMDD? Again, go to inlovewithpmdd.com, get those counseling sessions so we can have that conversation. We can work everything out so where you're feeling like, you know what, my partner doesn't have these, but they're willing. That's all it really takes, is for a PMDD partner to be willing to put in the effort to learn how to adopt these qualities that you need. And if it's just a situation where, they naturally don't have it and they're really frustrated that you keep asking them for it, they may just come out and tell you, like my partner said, my ex-partner literally said, I'm not like that. That's not me. That's not me. And I had to be, he was open and honest with me, and I had to be open and honest with myself. Am I going to be fulfilled and satisfied in this relationship, knowing that he is never going to be able to give me what it is that I need in my luteal phase? Is he going to be able to give me what I need in my follicular phase? Yeah, we were fine. I had no issue. But PMDD is 2 weeks out of the month. So you do the math on that. You cannot live off of half of a month in your PMDD relationship. I've tried it. I've been there. It doesn't work. So again, if that is something where you're like, I just need to figure it out, because the biggest thing for me and the biggest thing for a lot of my private clients is we need that clarity so that we can stop spinning in our head every single month. We need clarity on, is my partner able to give me what it is that I need in PMDD? So you know where to find me, inlovewithpmdd.com, for those private sessions to really figure this out so you can stop spinning in your head. Until next time, we got this. Love you. I hope this PMDD episode helped you and your partner in your struggles within your relationship. And if this is something that you know that you need help with and you need further support, individualized support, make sure you're going to inlovewithpmdd.com and you're getting those private sessions to really work through what you're going through in your relationship, specifically in regards to PMDD. And also, I want you to leave a 5-star written review on Apple Podcasts. What this does is it helps other PMDD sufferers and partners find this show that can help them get these free PMDD relationship tools. I remember what it felt like to not know that there were tools out there specifically for PMDD relationships. So I want to make sure that you are sharing these tools with others, share them on your social media, share them with people that you know that are also struggling in their PMDD relationships. Until next episode, this is Dr. Rose, your PMDD relationship psychotraumatologist. One more thing, I almost forgot. I now have the Fresh Start PMDD Partners Workbook. What this workbook can do is, if you've had past traumatic experiences with your partner, past fights, past arguments, and they keep coming up every single month in PMDD, I created a Fresh Start Workbook so that you can deal with all of the traumatic experiences that have happened in the past in PMDD rage and all of these things, so you can stop going through the same cycle again and again and again. So get that workbook. It comes with a video episode of the actual podcast that I recorded on getting a fresh start in your PMDD relationship, so you're not continuing the same cycle again and again and again. So make sure that you get that workbook. And if you need those individualized counseling sessions, you know where to go, inlovewithpmdd.com. Until next time, we got this. Love you.